Now is historian Kate Williams, because there's a collection of letters describing the moment British and German soldiers met and exchanged gifts on Christmas Day back in 1914. These are new letters that have been discovered and a new account of what's called the Christmas truce. It's from Private Frederick James Davies. They were sent from the front line in France to his mother. Hello, Kate.
Good morning.
You've had a look through these letters.
Yes, fabulous. Just
how much more do they reveal? I mean, the Christmas truce is a very old story. We know quite a bit about it already. So what do these new letters tell us?
Well, the Christmas truce is an old story, but a lot of scholars have said, is it really true? Did it really happen? Was it really significant? Did it really mean anything to the soldiers who actually took part in it? And what we really see from these fantastic letters is that it really did mean so much to this individual young soldier, this young man. He wrote to his mother and he was saying, you know, he said they were only 50 yards away and we went over to them. So it really does show that it meant a huge amount to the men at the time. And what's so unique about the Christmas truce, of course, is that it didn't happen again. It was simply something that happened in 1914, but after that, not only was the fighting much more bitter, but certainly High Command were very against it. So at the time when the Christmas truce happened, there was a press embargo. It wasn't even reported for a week until someone broke the press embargo in New York about it, because it was seen as, well, something that perhaps was a little bit risky, considering these were people we were meant to be fighting. And there was a lot of criticism, certainly in Germany, about it.
Well, we can listen to some of the words now of Private Frederick James Davies.
We had a good chat with the Germans on Christmas Day. They were only 50 yards away from us in the trenches. They came out, and we went to meet them. We shook hands with them. We gave them cigs, jam, and corned beef. They also gave us cigars, but they didn't have much food. I think they are hard up for it. They were fed up with the war.
Okay, it's just such an interesting little insight, isn't it, into the luxuries they had there on the front line, and how, talking to those German soldiers, they were as fed up as they were with the situation on the front line.
Because at the time, many people had believed it was all going to be over by Christmas, and it was becoming very clear by this point it wasn't going to be over by Christmas, and it was going to be a long and increasingly bitter conflict. So I think that all these sets of young men, they saw them over the other side. I mean, they lived in... What's amazing when you look at the trenches is what close proximity they lived in. They could hear them singing, they could hear them talking. They almost began to recognise each other's voices. It was an incredibly intimate way to live, and yet they were the enemy.
Kate, hasn't there been some debate over the years as to whether or not this truce actually took place? I mean, we know that there wasn't a truce all the way along the front.
No, there wasn't a truce all the way along the front, and certainly there's been a lot of debate, because I think some historians are reacting against a certain level of romanticisation about it. We've seen it in pop videos and films and that sort of thing, and the football game. But what I think what historians are now saying is that basically there was a truce, but it wasn't really official. It wasn't anything official, and there were many areas of the fighting in which it simply didn't occur. So this is certain areas in France. But what this does show, I think, is how important it was to those men who took part in it. It wasn't just something that they thought, oh, whatever about. It was very, very crucial, and it really does show, I think it shows the last moment of innocence, that there could be a fair war, a war that wasn't going to involve too many casualties, because that was the belief at the beginning of World War I, and of course battles like the Somme and Passchendaele proved everyone rather unfortunately wrong.
Do we know what happened to Private
Davies?
Davies?
He was rather unlucky, because he had a terrible injury. He was a trench actually crushed him, so he was invalided out of the army. But after he was out of the army, he did have a pretty long and successful life. He married, he had children. So this is particularly wonderful, I think, because it's a letter that we read from a young man, and a young man who didn't die in the trenches, who did go on to have a long and happy life.
It's a nice note to end on. Kate Williams, thank you very much, and have a very Merry Christmas.
Happy Christmas.